Smobler is an AI and blockchain company that says they're the future of the Phygital world. That's a combination of physical and digital. Joining me now is founder and CEO of Smobler, Dr. Loretta Chen. Welcome to the New York Stock Exchange.
Oh, thank you so much, Ashley. Thank you for having me. It's just so wonderful. What an honor.
Of course, great to have you. So tell us, what is Smobler?
So Smobler is an AI and blockchain company. So we actually have three pillars of our business. So the first is we build educational games on chain. We also have our AI pillar. And so we build AI for compliance, largely for the food industry. And lastly is our blockchain arm. And we are actually creating a maritime digital bunker tool as well as a means to financing bunker.
Can you explain and elaborate on those three key pillars of Smobler?
The game, I think, is self-explanatory. I think increasingly people are spending more and more time on gaming platforms. And so that's one of the things that we really wanted to go into, was to create educational games, because one of the things that I feel very strongly about as an educator is that a lot of games today are much too violent. So that was one of the first starts that we had in the blockchain industry. As we developed, I began to recognize it as an opportunity for us to take real world businesses on chain. So this led us to start creating a collaboration with Miston Labs, and they've invested in us. And together we're creating a digital bunker tool that helps in the refueling of ships in the open sea. And now we're taking that transaction on chain. We're also looking to create an instrument to enable the facilitation of financing of bunker. And finally, our AI arm really seeks to intervene and help food entrepreneurs go to market quicker. And so what we've done is to create a platform that enables any entrepreneur to be able to access nutritional labeling, the HSEP plan, which stands for a Hazard and Critical Checkpoints Program. I know it's a mouthful, as well as helping the food entrepreneur work through their logistics as well as their balance sheet.
Now, Loretta, you have a background in theater. How did you make this move? When did that move happen into this digital space?
As with most people, I think COVID was either a hit or miss, right? A bane or a boon. And for me, I was an entrepreneur and I exited, and I was in Hawaii living my best life as an educator. But during COVID, I realized that a lot of my co-workers had lost their jobs, because I ran one of the biggest branding and marketing agencies in Southeast Asia. We designed and built retail stores. And I realized that a lot of my staff were not going to get those jobs back. And so I started thinking, how might I be able to create and empower and enable a platform for a lot of my designers to transit? And so one of the things that I realized was that most families were staying at home during COVID. And one of the things that they were doing was spending time gaming. And so I figured that if there was one space I wanted to get into during COVID, was the game space, and to really try to create empowering and edutainment games. So that was how I got started in that digital space. And that was really the start of me then segueing into blockchain and AI.
And I understand there is a storytelling component woven throughout the fabric of Smobler. Can you talk more about that?
Thank you so much for asking this, Ashley. I think most times people think that technology is always about binary codes, but more than anything else, I've always felt that technology has to serve humanity. And foundationally, what binds us all together is storytelling. I mean, what you're doing today, Ashley, this is storytelling. You bring founders here day in, day out. You had, 5 interviews today? And they're all really about how our product, our services can change people's lives. And so foundationally, I think storytelling is the invisible glue that ties the consumer to the product or service. It really is a foundational tool to even tell global narratives, right? I think the myth of a nation, the story of healing, or the story of a family, everything is always about storytelling. So I think storytelling is really at the roots of building a brand.
Do you think if you're a successful, effective storyteller, you can be successful in other areas?
I would think that storytelling is foundational, but truthfully, I think we must have empathy at our core. We must have expertise as our engine, and I think we must have excellence as a differentiator. I think storytelling is key, but in today's world where everyone is an influencer or storyteller or creator, I think storytelling is foundational to how we interact and communicate and key touch points. But I still think execution and excellence is key, and above all, I think the ability to build trust with your consumer, with your partner, with your investor, with society, I think that's hugely important.
How can a brand or a company build trust?
A lot of it is, I think the founders need to walk the talk. I think it really is about building a legacy of being able to put your money where your mouth is, and also to be able to execute as you say you will. In today's day, I think we read the news and we see a lot of broken trust. I think a lot of it is founders must not be afraid to own up if there are mistakes, must not be afraid to pivot if things are not going well, and really to empower and engender a team to not be afraid to stand up and be courageous, especially when it's difficult. And I think people love these stories because they're just not stories. These are things that we hold dear. I mean, the fact that we're here in New York Stock Exchange, I mean, it's foundationally and fundamentally about people trusting and believing their monies in public businesses. So trust really is at the core of what we do.
And do you think authenticity plays into that as well?
It absolutely does. And I think today that word authenticity is bandied about too much. I think there is a sense of almost a lot of performativity or authenticity, but I truthfully think that consumers, audiences can really tell what true authenticity is. It's a mix of raw, but it's also courageous and real and truthful and emotive and powerful. And I think when you meet someone that is authentic and you just look at them in the eye and have these conversations with them, I think you will know. I think the camera can tell. I think people can tell. And I think society and audiences and consumers can tell when they trust in you or the product or the company.
And what has the growth trajectory of Smobler been since it launched in the pandemic?
So we have literally grown from a team of 2. At its height, we were 55. And now we've scaled down because of AI. And our team has literally grown from, now we have teams in Singapore, Brazil, Philippines, Vietnam, the US. I feel like I'm missing someone somewhere. But yeah, so the team has grown. But more importantly, I also think that it is also our business units, right? From just starting from telling great stories with brands in the game space, we've now taken to creating real-world assets on-chain, as well as now venturing to the AI space. And in fact, the state of Hawaii is our first client, and the state of Hawaii has actually made Nutra, our AI compliance tool, available to 1 million of our residents in Hawaii. So it's free to use for everyone in Hawaii. So that to us is not just traction, but it's purposeful, meaningful growth.
And putting that bunker on chain, can you explain for our audience who may not be familiar with that lingo, what that actually means and the impact that may have?
I'm so glad you asked. So bunker is really the refueling of ships in the open sea, right? So today, if you drove up to the gas station, you would pay for your gas, with a credit card. But if you think about you're a big ship, right? And you're fueling on the open sea. Now that transaction takes hours, and the clearance of that transaction also takes time. So what we're trying to do is put this $12 trillion business on chain. Basically what it is that it will facilitate trust, it will facilitate the movement of monies and fuel. And most importantly, I think it expedites and allows us to have provenance. So this is something today, it's still a very manual process. The transaction is literally done pen, paper, or at best through the exchange of iPads. So like you sign off on the fuel and I receive the fuel and you supply me the fuel. And this transaction is done pen and paper, or like I said, at best through an iPad. I was literally on a bunker operation just last month. And what I had to do was hop off a little boat and jump onto a rope ladder, climb up, right? Watch them, do the entire bunker transaction and then climb back down. I mean, it's an arduous process, but I wanted to put myself through this process as a founder to understand what this is like. And if you think about it, these crew members are in the open sea for like at least a month. So a lot of this paperwork can get lost at sea, and the crew may change. So there are so many mitigating factors that can inhibit the successful transaction of the bunker. So that's one of the reasons why we want to be able to digitize this and put it on chain.
So you're automating that process
Correct.
essentially.
Yes.
All
yes.
right.
Yes.
What is next for Smobler?
Well, I think it will be to look towards the financing of the bunker. So that's also why we have secured investments from Niston Labs and working together with the SWE Foundation to create a more cogent financial instrument that will enable the financing of bunker through the use of stable coins. And this will also allow us to alleviate the volatility of Forex and foreign currency. So that is a huge project that we're undertaking, and I'm really excited to be able to share more and be here again when that time comes.
All right, Dr. Loretta Chen, founder and CEO of Smobler, thank you so much for joining us at the New York Stock Exchange.
Ashley, thank you so much. I'm so proud to be here. Thank you so much for your time. And yeah, thank you.